Welcome, gun runner.
Hello everybody, Kieran aka The Laird here, and I have a nice bookazine review for you today. And also this is the first time I'm getting to use my new camera. So let's hope it turns out okay. So it looks pretty good after fiddling with all the settings, but you're never quite sure when you get a new camera how it's going to look once it's uploaded. So it's a much better one than my old one, so hopefully the definition will be a lot better as well. But this new bookazine, as you can see, is the Ultimate 80s collection from Future Publishing and Retro Gamer. So they did something like this once before, you may remember, called the Ultimate Retro Collection, that mixed movies, films, games, the whole shebang all together into one bookazine. But it was quite wide ranging and went through kind of the late 70s right up into the 90s and spread out quite a lot, and I believe it sold very well, so they obviously decided there was room to do something more with this concept. So with this book what they've done now is they've done an 80s collection, which you can see here, and they've also done a 90s collection, which I also have. So what I'll do is I'll review that one next week, so expect next weekend to see a review of that one on my channel. But I thought it'd be good to do them in separate videos. Some people are interested in the 80s, some people are interested in the 90s. So I like both. Although 80s, I suppose, is more my decade because I was born in 1977. So I very much grew up through the 80s. That's probably, the decade that has the most memories and nostalgia for me is probably the best way to put it. So let's have a look what we've got in here. I mean, you can already see from the cover lots of iconic images, like we've got Pac-Man, we've got the ZX Spectrum, we've got Cabbage Patch Kids, My Little Pony, Ghostbusters, Freddie Mercury, Care Bears, Danger Mouse, He-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, She-Ra's in there somewhere. So, there's already like a massive overload there of 80s pop culture icons. So, right. Well, I'll try and look through. The difficult thing with these is always reaching and being able to look through at the same time as filming it properly, because you actually have to have the camera really far away from it to get it all in the shot. So I'm hoping you'll be able to see everything okay. So there's our index with everything in there. Teddy Ruxpin, Michael Jackson, Mute. So you also see 80s iconic films. There's all sorts of stuff in here. So this will appeal to a lot more than just video game fans. And actually, saying that, the first thing my wife said when she saw this was, that looks like a really good magazine. So, and she's actually already said she'd like to read it properly. And my wife pretty much never says that with any of the books or magazines that I buy. So there you go. There's a seal of approval. So straight away we go into gaming. So we've got an article on Pac-Man. This one article was actually reprinted from Retro Gamer magazine because I remember it well. And there are a few like that are reprinted from Retro Gamer magazine, and there are a couple I think that are reprinted from the previous Ultimate Retro Guide thing that they did. But a lot of it as well is new. So there we go, Pogo Ball, which my wife remembered well. 80 films that define the 80s. So yeah, kind of list article. This one isn't done like the best. So it isn't like, this is the top one, this upwards. You'll see it starts at 1 and it's just kind of a list. There's no ranking taking place in this. But, there's every film that you'd expect to see in there, Predator, Terminator, Ghostbusters there, Breakfast Club, Airplane, Gremlins, E.T., everything you pretty much expect to see is in their First Bueller's Day Off. They should have given that a bigger bit, though. Such an iconic movie. Flash Gordon, Big Trouble in Little China there. Labyrinth, Nightmare on Elm Street. It's all that. Rubik's Cubes. No surprise to see that in there. The Care Bears. Playground Battles. Again, that's a reprint from Retro Gamer magazine. So that's Spectrum versus 64 Battle in there. So they give each one a rating. Different categories. Cabbage Patch Kids, Thundercats. Oh, everyone will remember that with good old Mom Ra, the Ever Living, in the middle there. So good old Thundercats. Pound puppies. Don't really remember them that well, but probably not really my thing being a boy. Fisher Price roller skates. I do remember girls having those, funnily enough. 50 defining TV shows of the 80s. So lots of good stuff in here that you remember. Even there's a few that are here that I'd completely forgotten about till I saw them, like Cockleshell Bay. Alf, Airwolf, Different Strokes, Knight Rider, Inspector Gadget, The A-Team, Going Live, Rent a Ghost, Roland Rat, Neighbours, Terrorhawks, Super Grand, all sorts of stuff. My Little Ponies, Funny Bones storybooks. I remember having lots of those. Loved them when I was a little kid. All my 80s fashion, the Raccoons, the NES, which is funny. I suppose this is to try and get a bit of more American thing because the NES bombed in the UK, so that must be to garner some Americans to buy this magazine. I assume they're releasing it on both sides of the ocean. They usually do with these magazines. Glowworm, WWF, of course. Had a few of those figures myself. See, Monchichi, I thought, what the hell's that? And then I do vaguely remember what they look like, but I don't remember them being called that. But there we go. Fraggle Rock, of course, loved Fraggle Rock. Everyone had a Walkman, who didn't? He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, awesome. Teddy Ruxpin. Sega Master System. Gummy Bears. Danger Mouse. Transformers. Sylvanian Families, or Salivian Families, as we all used to call them when I was a kid. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I like the fact it talks about the arcade games as well. I liked that. That was good. Call it Acid, which I thought was a cool article to have in there, talking about acid house music, because I remember that very, very well. Trapdoor, awesome. Garbage Pail Kids, and this brought back so many memories because I absolutely loved Garbage Pail Kids. It made me remember that I think they did a Garbage Pail Kids book, and I must try and pick that up because I loved them so much. I collected every single series of them they did. I had books and books and books full of them. Really loved them. So yeah, that's one of my favourite things in here. I wish I could have been bigger, to be honest. Mask, Micro Machines, Shiva, Music of a Generation. This covers all sorts of stuff. Michael Jackson, Madonna, George Michael, etc. Mostly pop. There's rock, all rock stuff. Electronic music, icons. Mars Pump Up the Volume, one of my favourite. I think that was the first single I ever bought, was Mars Pump Up the Volume. There you go. Public Enemy. I bought a lot of that stuff. A lot of hip hop stuff. Public Enemy and NWA and stuff like that. R&B. And that's the lot, really. And that shows the other one that I'm going to look at next week in there as well. And that's the back. So I'll leave it on that for a minute. So yeah, it's a really great magazine, really. Real big nostalgia trip altogether. It's pretty lengthy. I'm not sure what the page count is. What is the page count? 150 roughly pages. So it's a decent size. The cost is $9.99. So under a tenner as they were. I did worry after we did the last bookazine and it had gone up to $12.99. But this seems to be at the old standard price of $9.99. There's loads in there to look at. As I say, it'll even get like your wife interested and stuff because there's so many memories in that book. The only strange thing I thought about it was, in terms of the video game stuff, was that there was nothing Atari. I was really, really shocked that the Atari 2600 wasn't in there. I know the Atari 2600 came out in the 70s. It came out the same year I was born, in fact. But it was really an 80s machine. It had all its success in the 80s with the release of Pac-Man and Space Invaders, that really kicked it off. And I did think it was very strange not to see the Atari 2600 in there, because I do think it really, really should have been in there. It was a hugely successful console on both sides of the ocean. And as I say, it had all its success in the 80s, and they didn't stop making games until the 90s. So that really shows, the success of the machine. So yeah, that's the only thing that I spotted that I just thought that really should have been in there. And maybe some articles on more on the TV programs like A-Team and Knight Rider would have been nice as well. Although they kind of just kept the articles for toys and such like. But yes, definitely worth getting. Definitely worth picking up. And I'd head down W.H. Smith's right now if I was you and grab a copy. Or if you can't find it there, you can always go over to the My Favourite Magazine's website and grab it there. And I will stick a link for you below as well for those who do want to order it online. I hope you've enjoyed my review of this bookazine, and I'll see you all again next week for my review of the Ultimate 90s collection. See you all again soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.